Welcome to the Saturday Night Live Afterparty. This week, we'll be discussing Season 47, Episode 12 of SNL with host Willem Dafoe and musical guest Katy Perry. I'm Catherine Coleman, and this week I'm joined by Steve Finn, as well as one half of New York comedy duo Kevin and Pat, Patrick Riley. If you'd like to connect with Pat, you can find him at NotPatRiley. And if you'd like to connect with us, you can do so at snlpodcast.com. All right, here we go. Hello, everyone. We have an episode to discuss in which I can only assume every single writer Googled Willem Dafoe on Monday and stumbled across that really weird video of him dancing with his pee-pee out. And they all said, let's pitch him something about this and see which one he goes with. And then he said, have you seen my pee-pee? We're doing all of them, baby. So that's the episode we got. But anyway, Steve is here. Hey, Steve, how's it going?
Hey, man, how do I follow that? Either way, great to be here.
That's the end of the episode.
Yes.
Yeah, we got Steve. We also have my friend Pat Riley here. I'm very excited to have Pat on. I met him working at my old day job. We taught science to children together. And in that process, we bonded over pursuing comedy. But Pat's actually been at it significantly longer than I have. He regularly performs as part of the comedy duo Kevin and Pat. And he's one of the co-writers of the off-Broadway musical Great Frontier, a poorly researched musical about Lewis and Clark. So how you doing, Pat? Welcome to the show.
Oh, I am doing fantastic. That dance he did. It's kind of like Sam Rockwell dances and everything. I did not realize. I saw the video after I saw the sketch because it was on Twitter. Someone was just like, "Oh, they were doing like this dance and this," and I watched it. I'm just like, why isn't he dancing in everything? No Way Home would have been a better film if Green Goblin they went, "Hey, Peter!" Ooh, and Peter's like mesmerized by the dance. That'd be great.
But speaking of Willem Dafoe, you've met him.
Oh, yes.
And did you see his penis?
No. You know what? He was a total gentleman about it. He asked, I said no. He said, all right. Went back to buying groceries. No, I dated someone for a while who lived in the same building as him. And it became so regular that I would bump into him like at Christie's or like in the building, that he would initiate the head nod to say, hi, how are you? And he at one time I was on the elevator with him and I held my cool. I stood, and I was on the elevator with him. And this is after we had already had instances like we're like outside the building or like at Christie's, we bumped into each other. And I'm in the elevator and he goes, wow, how are you today? I'm like, good. And you? And he goes, great. Oh, it's getting warmer. And I said, it is. And then we left. And then that was our interaction. That was my interaction with Willem Dafoe, the nicest man I have ever briefly met.
So that's your Willem Dafoe story, but you have many tales you could regale us with, many of which are SNL related. Because, like I said, you've been in the comedy scene so long. You know plenty of people at the show who have been through the show. So just pick a story and tell us.
I'm gonna pick a story that has nothing to do with my comedy background and everything to do with my genetics. My aunt and uncle work for SNL. They both work on SNL. My aunt, who's my father's sister, is in the sound department, and then my uncle's a cameraman. And recently, because of COVID, they had the COVID show with Paul Rudd, and they had a very stripped down version of what the show was, and they were sending a lot of people home. And they basically like were originally going to send home my aunt to be like, they're going to send home my aunt, but they were going to keep my uncle. And then she was just like, cool. Hey, we drove here together. Don't do that. What was the selection process? Well, we pointed at that guy first. Oh, no. I either he comes home with me now or I stay here because I don't want to have to. I don't have to do this. We're both in our 60s. We're old people. Like, let's.
Nice.
But it's fun. Because of comedy, I've known a few writers through over the years, And one time I got to go backstage because of some writer friends, and I bumped into my aunt while with them. And my aunt, I love her to death. She's a very nervous person. And she kind of grabbed my shoulders and go, "What are you doing here? What are you doing? Did you break in? Did you steal?" I'm like, "No, I know I know other people. I've been doing this too long." But yeah. It's fun. It's something I've always wanted to as a kid I wanted to be on, but as I grew older, I'm like, that looks like too much work. I want to be adjacent to it. And I live, hey kids, if you want to be adjacent to something, live your dreams. Just go out there, meet the right people, and they'll do it for you. And you can look and go, "Hey, look at them." And that's where I am in my life.
That's my buddy. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. So yeah, Patrick, rest assured, he has plenty of comedy knowledge. He's been watching SNL forever. He's got friends. He's got insider knowledge. You're in good hands. Are we ready to get into the show?
Yeah.
I am.
Let's do it. For the cold open, the Biden administration meets about Russia's latest disinformation campaign. Steve, what'd you think of it?
I guess it was okay.
Glowing review.
Yeah. Well, I wish I could get more glowing than something like this. But that's what we got. We got something that was very opaque and non-glowing. Something serviceable, but hey, it's not gonna blow you away. There was some very good punchlines in some of those headlines they threw out there. I was a particular fan of Chloe's character. I think she played that really well.
Yeah.
And yeah, for sure. It was that was a treat. And I think she really stole the show towards the end.
Yeah. I agree. It's there were a few things that I really liked about it. I thought it was creative in that it's a good way to incorporate a lot of different news stories because they were able to touch on like some Aaron Rodgers stuff, the Neil Young thing through the lens of this Russia scandal. So I thought that was really cool. But I completely agree with you, Steve. Chloe's character stole the show and made me say, I wish the whole sketch was like Gen Z intelligence officer.
I completely agree. The second she shows up, like literally like third beat, like she's just there, and I'm like, why wasn't she brought in earlier? Because I would love to see her interact with the TikToks. Because my favorite part of it, outside of Chloe Feynman, which was 100% what I loved about the sketch, was the TikToks they made were so spot on. Like usually, and because my one thing I really did not like about the sketch was it did feel like an old man going, "This is what the kids like the memes," and like especially like at some point, Keenan says "Chingy" or was it Chuggy, which is but which has not been used as a term in at least a month and a half, which is very SNL of them to use a term that's outdated. But
I do think that was maybe part of the joke, though.
It has to be. I wish it was played up a little more because it so wasn't, and because I had that moment of like, that no one knows what that word means anymore, right? Like we're past it. But it definitely felt a little old man yells at cloud for a little bit, which always is like my least favorite version of a cold open. But yeah, once Chloe Feynman shows up, that sketch I feel becomes more of a like the game gets stronger. But the problem is I already had 4 minutes of a sketch that was kind of like I felt like the content they were commenting on was actually pretty well well parodied and great. It was just like the stuff that when they got cut back to Biden, I felt like he was just I'm gonna flame him on Finsta or Fritza. I love the idea. And this is how J does it. He does his Biden is an old man who's trying to be cool with the kids, and I think that's such a fun and honestly honest take on Biden. Like it's just such a great, like Biden so wants to be the, hey man, I might be an old man, but I still wear cool sunglasses, and he just nails it. And I feel like that's the key to his Biden, that like outside of like, wow, his voice is perfect, manners are perfect, he gets the attitude of, oh hey man, I'm just one of you guys, just hard working, and I'm just like, oh, I love it. I really enjoy that stuff.
Yeah, I will say apparently this was like rewritten and maybe completely written at like 1 a.m. Saturday. I know they at least changed the setting of it based on something I saw on Instagram.
Oh yeah.
So, maybe we can't complain too much, but
Yeah.
yeah, so Cold Open gave us something to love, but not everything to love.
Yeah.
But I think we've said it. Let's get into the monologue where Willem Dafoe pulls out his old Wisconsin accent. And that was my best attempt at that. Pat, what'd you think of the monologue?
It was serviceable, same thing. I forget who I was actually, Catherine, I think I might have been talking to you about this recently, but with dramatic actors, you never know which way they're going to go. You never know if they're going to be comfortable or they're going to be kind of like, and I felt like he felt comfortable. He was having fun. It was definite that he was doing a scripted monologue. He didn't have that ease of just like when you get like more of a comedic actor who just knows how to work the stage of it. But it was fun. I love that he brought up the fact that the internet wants him to be the Joker. 100% because he just physically looks and sounds like the Joker. I'm sorry to Willem Dafoe. I'm sorry he's never going to get away from it. But the fact that like someone drew the Joker in the 40s and then Willem Dafoe was born and then someone was like, this child will look like this cartoon and it will haunt him for the rest of his life. Like, so, but I mean, like, again, good monologue, very good. Got me excited for the show, which is the important thing that it should do,
Exactly. Yeah, like he did a good job. It was a decent monologue. It wasn't my favorite of the season. But it got a few laughs, I honestly wouldn't have hated more jokes about his face. In the sense that like, and I've never seen Speed 2. I don't know if he's actually reading a book in that scene or not. Yeah. I don't know what that could have been photoshopped. It could have not been. I tried to Google it, couldn't find anything. I'm not going to watch the movie to find out. But I think it could have been really fun if they had done a little bit more with that. Maybe there were even more pictures that were like Green Goblin reading a book. Like I think that path could have been a little bit more fun for me than like the Wisconsin thing. But it is what it is. We got what we got. And I did like the Wisconsin beat because it was something I didn't know about him. But yeah, not belly laughs here, but enough that I was like, okay, yeah, Willem's going to be fine. Not that I was really having any doubt about that before it started. Steve, was it a win for you?
Sure. Yeah. I think
what a vote of confidence.
This is what I do around here. I bring everybody back to the center, Patrick's got a good point that serious actors, can't they get through a comedy monologue? I would say that Willem did, but it was very obviously successfully done by drawing from his training as an actor, because he does all the right actor things, hitting his lines, being in the right spot, and understanding his motivation. That's all there. And I guess he gets through it. It's very much using his strengths. And could a seasoned comedian get bigger laughs out of it? It's hard to say because the jokes are so specifically tailored to Willem Dafoe. So it's a weird argument to make. But moving on, I thought it was a monologue that just made sense. For
I honestly think
Willem
that's
Dafoe,
the best way to put it.
Yeah. What we know of Willem Dafoe, so to lead in this and make the focus to be about his intensity, it makes a whole lot of sense. He's kind of a meme at this point. The Wisconsin stuff was good. I didn't know where if you asked me where Willem Dafoe is from originally, I wouldn't know. I guess it's Appleton. Wisconsin now I got that chunk of knowledge in my head, which is fine. I just found it an interesting way of getting the monologue in the direction of having him do the accent.
It wasn't the smoothest transition.
Yeah. It was a
strange
cut.
creative choice. Yeah.
It
was a strange creative choice to like create these two characters to be in the audience that are from Wisconsin. And let's be honest, ever since COVID changed things, the from the audience stuff doesn't land as well anymore because they're not technically sitting in the audience. They're standing behind the audience.
That's a very, very good point.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that, but yeah, that's a great point. Like, it's not really like audience questions if they have to be kind of roped off from where the audience is.
Yeah. It's like,
They're
you
not
get a
wearing
special
masks.
standing
They're not
seat.
wearing masks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a serviceable monologue, but not leaving us on the highest mark there. But let's see where we land. Let's talk about Jan Krang is back. She's back for the tenant meeting, the first one of 2022. And Pat, how did you feel about this tenant meeting?
I love this sketch. This is the one I was talking about earlier on, where I'm like, almost every character in the sketch, I would watch a whole sketch with this character. Each character had such a strong motivation, had a strong direct line of like, this is what this character is. The one that stood out the most, where I so badly want to see, is I want to see a sequel to this sketch. I want to see the talent show. I want to see Bowen and it's Mikey Day, right? Who's the other guy of that? Yeah, Bowen and Mikey Day. I want to see them put on the talent show with these characters. Aristotle's little Greek man who used Google Translate and then goes, "Think of it much," and walks off. That might have been honestly my hardest laugh of the night, is when he just goes, "Think of it much," and walks off, and then Trent's like, no, he's gonna break something again. I just this sketch just did it for me. This really won me over, where I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a good night, you know?
Nice.
Yeah.
I liked it. I'm gonna be the more middle of the road person though, in that I think this was fun. I think a tenant meeting in New York, obviously there's a million ways to go because there's so many crazy characters in every single building. And I like these sort of full cast sketches where everybody's in and out really quick. We get to see everybody. And we were getting a lot of those at the beginning of the season to kind of show off this really big cast, and it felt like a really good way to do that. But I don't know. I don't think this was as strong as those first few. There were some good beats here. Like, I loved Jan Krang wants to ban teens. I would support that notion. I like that FiOS is never coming. It's always, I do have FiOS now, but for a long time it was like, it's going to be here next month. Oh, next year. Oh, the year after that. Like, it was always in the future. I love like Kate's really strong character choice of like being below the podium. That's great. But I don't know. I think the main thing that sort of brought me down on it was some of the timing was just
a little off. Yeah.
But they did fix that. I did notice like on the upload, they've quickened it up. They've cut it up a little more.
So the upload, there's a really bad one in the upload that was even worse on the live show, with the timing of is it Punky is the newer casting. Yeah, she's a line where she says, I only came here for the munchkins.
Yeah, why am I even here?
And then Chloe immediately goes, "Oh, and she's gone." But then we see her walk in front of the camera about maybe 5 or 6 seconds after that line, and it was so off. And because Chloe said it so fast, it didn't make any sense. Where I'm like, "Oh, she must have left without," and then she moved after. And then even in the upload, that's still so slow. Where I was like, it was like, man, something wires got crossed there. Both times. Yeah, it was way too noticeable.
That's a tricky thing to like hold against them. I know, like, there's so many moving parts of this. They're probably on sets across the studio from each other. Like, I get that, but like, it did, like, on the live version especially, it took me out of the sketch a little bit, where I was like, oh, that would have been such a great joke. The timing was just a little bit off. So I will say, like, on the upload, a lot of that was fixed, and I liked the sketch way more the second time. But it still didn't reach the heights of like the school board one did for me. Like, I think Andrew Dismuke saying "bitch" is so much funnier than douche. But it is what it is. Steve, where'd you land?
Well, it's interesting to hear about this edit, having only seen the actual what's on my DVR. So it confirms that since they felt the need to actually tighten that up in an edit, it truly did. It was so devastating to this sketch how those first few seconds played out. It was almost like Punky was waiting for the camera to cut to her to deliver the line instead of reacting to the line itself.
Mm-hmm.
And if she was directed to do that, I don't know if I agree with it.
Yeah.
I feel like if worst case scenario, if the camera lags and cuts to her like a quarter way through her line, I mean, that's worse than her sitting. She's already standing up, which is another weird blocking of it all. So like we cut to her and she's already standing ready to sit her line. It pulled a lot of air out of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so it's just interesting to me that they felt the need to edit it, because I felt like it was in my own head that I was like, oh, maybe I'm in a bad mood, because I'm just like, really,
that's what I thought too.
I'm like, what kind of mood am I in? Because I'm just like not jazzed for this now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But like, like that was, I do feel like it probably was maybe a direction thing where they were like, wait until you say anything to camera, because this is another kind of sketch where it's a lot of moving parts. You know,
Yeah.
This isn't a sketch where we're going to be stationary here. We have to exchange after actors have to come and leave. You even with Willem Dafoe's part, he left a little too early, even in the edit, where like you could see him just say his last line and then completely drop character and kind of run off. And I'm like, oh, come on, guys.
There were awkward moments all through this like that.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a live show. This is what happens with a live show. Like you can't, it's not going to be.
It's part of what makes it exciting. Like that's kind of the thing we love about it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So a decent win, maybe more of a win for Patrick, but nonetheless, this did get me on a slight incline. Let's keep going.
Yeah.
To the universal experience of something getting you. Steve, what'd you think of this music video?
Hey man, as a guy with sleeping problems of his own, this is welcome material. A good use of the production value that SNL has been achieving as of late.
Yeah,
this was great subject matter that any adult viewer, I think, can relate to, because they made sure that they really reached in all corners for examples of things that keep you awake. I think whoever you are as a human being, there has been something in this song that has awoken you at least a couple of times to make it annoying. I was there like checking them off. Yep, that one's done it. That one's done it too. That one's done it. So yeah, there's a lot to shake your fist at and say, damn it, SNL, I'm trying to have fun here. I'm trying to laugh and you're just bringing up real but whatever. It's a lot of fun when they go this route. They have the cast members that can reliably knock out a banger. So a lot to enjoy in this little production here. Definitely worth the effort put into it.
Yeah, I agree, man. I agree. I feel like I really enjoy when Chris Red and Keenan do a music video. I'm always like, this is it's gonna be a good time. I will say, I thought it was funny that Willem Dafoe in his monologue mentioned, he's like, people want me to be the Joker. I don't know why. And then was a perfect Joker in the end of this. To the end, like literally like my little comic book nerd brain turned off watching the sketch and was just thinking like, God, this is perfect for Joker voice. This is exactly what the Joker would do. Yeah. He's mocking me at this point. He's laughing in my face.
Do that. Yeah.
Just do that. Just do that. I don't want to see a sad Joaquin Phoenix refrigerator Joker. No, I want to see the Willem Dafoe yelling like things that will keep you awake at night. All you had to say was the Batman, and I would have been like, yeah, you got it.
Hello, bats.
Oh God, it's but I mean, like overall, like I also have insomnia, so it's like the amount of times where I was watching this and just going like, yeah, 100%. Yeah. Literally like the night before Friday night, I woke up because I had this little bump on my neck thing. It was what it turned out to be was lint. But what I thought, I kept feeling it, and because I was doing it like through the shirt like this, and I'm like, I keep scratching it. I feel like it's getting bigger, and it was getting bigger because the lint was rolling into a ball. So yeah, and that kept me up for at least a half hour. So, so I could like when Keenan got up and went onto WebMD and just kept trying to take pictures of his neck. I was like, oh, I just did this. You know, they speak to the real blue collar folk. You know.
Yeah, that was so like I too many times I've been like, oh, there's a thing, and like try to get a picture, and you just can't. Like the camera refuses to focus on it, and you can't figure out how to get it to focus on your back or your neck or wherever. That was like super relatable. That was actually probably my favorite beat.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like Steve said, the production on this was so strong. The sets, the editing, everything was really, really top notch. But I don't know, there was something holding me back from just loving it. And the best thing I can figure out, and I don't know, and maybe y'all can help me here, but I do feel like as relatable and specific as the things were, I do feel like there could have been a more heightened sense of specificity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like
that's the thing about it. Like it could go so many places, and they went so many places. It's like it almost loses the point of focus. Like you're just asking yourself.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
I'm
totally
glad I'm not the only one.
I feel that way with when Willem Dafoe's character shows up at the end. Though I thought it was very funny and enjoyable, it did for me kind of feel like kind of lost focus of what the original intention was, which was here's some weird things that now it's just like here's a list of weird things instead of like having that really tie into the idea of the sketch of like where it's going. Now it's just we're gonna list funny things that it felt like the writers were like, here are some ideas that we didn't like plan through, so we'll just throw them at the end.
Right. Yeah.
And again, like it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad, but
like I think a speed run at the end of a sketch can be a really strong choice.
Exactly, I agree. Especially for something like this. Because it felt like, I don't know, like in the past, whenever they've done some sort of like medical commercial and then like the last, just like the runoff of just like, here are the side effects, blah, 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 blah. And I feel like that's always worked for me. But for some reason, when Willem Dafoe was doing essentially the exact same sort of joke of here's just a list of side effects, here's a list of things, it didn't hit as well. And maybe it was because I was thinking about the Joker. I'll be honest. I 100% was thinking about the Joker, but realistic, it's just, I just felt like it was kind of like, oh, the sketch is over. It didn't have that. I needed one more thing to really like be like, oh, that's the craziest thing.
And I'll talk about this in a minute when we get to the dog show, where like you can have things that are like very general and like relatable, but just like something about it is so specific that makes it so funny. And I think this could have just used maybe one more filter pass of like what's like just a different word we can use here, and that would have just taken it to the next level. And I understand, they filmed it Friday night. They didn't have time to do another pass at it. I get that. But there was just something about it that I was like, this is good. This is catchy. I really like this, but it's not as good as some of the other songs that they've heard out this season.
That's how they trick us, right? Because this stuff looks like they've worked on it for months. That's how good it looks.
Yes.
So when we like pick it apart, like it's easy to forget that they actually like threw it together in a couple of nights.
Yeah.
And we think, oh, we could have done this, could have done that.
Exactly.
Oh man, it's amazing that they got this.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. It's like a thing of like if we were watching a show like Key and Peele or like, I Think You Should Leave, like those are filmed over a time where like you can go back and you can change and in editing and like you have months to work on it. But like the fact that like exactly what Catherine was saying, they probably filmed this Friday night, that they did this like in a day. That they could do this is so impressive. Like it's so the fact like this was a product of someone going, just quick, we have like 4 more things we have to shoot before we go live,
Yeah.
Quick, so 5 things to keep you up at night. Go.
Yeah. And it still really works. Yeah.
This isn't a spot for amateurs.
So what we got was definitely good. Maybe if they had an extra 2 weeks on it, there are some things that we would could change, but definitely a good music video. SNL always delivers on production quality. But let's keep going to the 28th annual Badminster Dog Show, and I loved the Badminster Dog Show because much like I mentioned a minute ago, everything was so specific. Like it invoked constant laughter. And just like an example, like everyone knows dogs are afraid of fireworks, right? Common knowledge, relatable thing. They said the 4th of July is a war. That's so much funnier than saying she's afraid of fireworks. Like that is so specific and so heightened in such funny language. And that was on the very first beat of the sketch. And it just kept going from there. So like to me, this was like the reminder that I needed, and SNL gives me, every month or so I get one of these where I'm like, oh right, I need to go back through that sketch I wrote and change every word to be something more specific, and it will be that much better. So yeah, I loved this.
Yes.
And Pat, you have like a few elderly dogs, correct?
I did.
Oh God.
I don't want to talk about it, but let's just say this weekend was hard.
Change that.
And but I do, yeah. It's a whole. It was as I was watching this, I had tears in my eyes. It's just like, oh, she was a pain in the ass, wasn't she? But anyway, but I have other dogs. I have other dogs that are still alive, and one of the other dogs I have still alive is named Blueberry. Blueberry is my little Danny DeVito. He's a little Danny DeVito dog. He has alopecia. He's balding. He has a crooked penis that he pees sideways. So I know if he's.
So I was on the right track. You do relate.
It's I could relate to but especially for Blueberry. My one note in the sketch is who wrote this and do I know them personally, because this is a story I've told that my dog Blueberry loves people, but if he's in any sort of transportation, he will throw up and cry the entire way. So the fact that Blueberry in the sketch grounded a plane, I was like, yeah, 100%. This sketch, oh man, every time they would ask a question and they would just go, yeah, this is horrifying. This guy, the living with this animal is the one, the Mukes' one where he says, he goes, every day is a nightmare. Every day's a new nightmare. I was like, oh, you're so right. Like, he was real quiet and I missed those days. Yeah, exactly. I understand. I also have a rescue dog who, when we first got him, he was like real like agile and great. But now if you try to wake him up before 1 p.m., it's like, he'll stab you. He'll stab you if you wake him up before 1. He understands what a bed is now, you know?
Steve, did you like it?
Here's something I want to bring up. Do you think it was intentional to make Willem Dafoe look like Fred Willard? Because with that wig on, that's all I could think of. And then that brought me back to Best in Show, the Christopher Guest film. So, yeah, to make him look so much like an actor who once played a commentator in a dog show on a movie, it seemed almost like a shout out to.
I will say, as someone who watches dog shows, because it's like the thing that my grandmother likes to watch after the Macy's Day Parade, that's how they dress. It just happens to be that Fred Willard looks exactly like the commentator. So I feel like they were just basing the costume on the exact same thing, right? With that, but yeah,
so that's why they casted Fred Willard in the first place, because he has that look.
Yeah,
that they were going for Willem. So it's a third degree.
Yeah.
Okay, so big win on the Badminster Dog Show. Up next. It's okay that you can't get hard anymore, because now there's Nugenics. I'm gonna let the boys go first here. Pat, how was this for you?
Great. I thought this was very funny. This was a quick one. This was like it moved at a clip, and I love when the digital shorts especially move at a clip. My favorite part of this was two beats, but the first beat I got such a big laugh at it when it was called back. It made that laugh even stronger, which is when he goes, Sir Willem Dafoe? Well, I'm not British. Why do you think I was British? And then later on, when he introduces his wife, he's like, Sir Willem Dafoe, and then get that little wink. That was honestly the performance for me, performance of the night. That wink over was so genius. Like the rest of the sketch, I thought was very funny. But again, it's like penis humor where it's like, man, dicks are funny. I will laugh at a dick joke. But him calling him Sir Willem Dafoe being insulted, and then later on going like, "Hey, how are you?" I'm like, "Oh, that's why because you tell women that you're British because it makes it better." Oh, my lady. Oh, maybe it's your perfume, and it's like, oh, so funny. But yeah, I like this sketch. What about you guys?
This sketch, I'll tell you, I could see where they got the idea, because like the language they always use in these types of ads, it always feels like they're beating around that bush, right? Like you can't just say, you can't get hard, right? So they say
this also is a very specific commercial that like has that athlete in it too.
I figured. Yeah. I figured there's a reason they picked that specific athlete.
But it is broad enough. You're right. Like the language is broad. We've all seen a commercial like this.
Yeah. But I just love where they took it. And I guess they just transferred the embarrassment that comes with it onto this this character that Mikey's playing, and it works so well. One of the great things about this is that they keep throwing him under the bus in more hilarious, creative ways until it gets to whoever Kyle was playing, the quarterback guy.
Oh yeah.
When he says this guy just came up to us and said he can't get hurt, like they even remove the fact that like they started this conversation with him, and just keep throwing him under the bus more and more. It was great. We love Mikey for these types of roles where he just can't win.
He's a great straight man. He's a great straight man having to deal with crazies.
Absolutely,
You know?
And this was when they got to the all the facial expressions that came with the pain of these supposed machines, I guess, which was an interesting turn in itself. But we got some true Willem Dafoe faces in this sketch. So it feels like they had fun with it, and just behind the camera, they're like, Willem, give us a few Dafoe the faces, and
the faces
he delivered. Dafoe delivers.
Yeah, I like this. You have given me a slightly new appreciation for it and how you've described it, because I thought originally I was like, yeah, this was really strong at the beginning. We've all seen this commercial. I love that they're more and more aggressively insisting that Mikey can't get hard. And I think that that's a strong angle to take on these types of commercials. Like them having a guy there that's like ashamed of it, and they're like making him take this. I think like that was really fun. But for me, like that left turn at the end was almost like too abrupt. I was like, okay, I love like a very heightened ending, but like it just felt like we were like, all right, yep, we're getting more aggressive, and it's a machine now.
I will say the reason why in my head I was fine with that was because they immediately followed it up with, oh, and now you want to know. Like it's such a like trying to sell you, a used car kind of thing of like, oh, now you're interested. Oh, well, that's such a funny line where I'm like, it's almost a catch-all in my head where I'm like, oh yeah, no, you can do that. That's fine. You already called out the fact that you're doing that. So like it's okay in my book. I say it's okay.
Yeah, like some of the stuff y'all are saying about it like makes me appreciate it more and like feel more comfortable with that left turn. Like it does feel like a little bit more natural and like more. It makes more sense the more that y'all are talking about it. So maybe I just need a rewatch. But in the moment, I was like, "Oh, okay, this is where we are now."
It's jarring.
It was jarring, but I don't want to complain about it being jarring. I like it getting a little absurd. So maybe I do just need a rewatch. But yeah, as a good strong commercial parody. I did like the pacing of it for sure too. Cool. Well, let's get into these musical performances. Katy Perry performs "When I'm Gone" and "Never Really Over." Guys, confession, I used to be a huge Katy Perry fan. All right.
Oh, yeah?
I was back in the Teenage Dream era. That album was very special to me. I was very, very into it. And even like
that's her
first
best album,
I really loved too. By far and away, that's her best album.
Yeah.
Like, so, and I haven't really kept up with her that much since. Like, I've heard a few things. I've been like, nope, that's not the heights of Teenage Dream. Not gonna go
like,
there.
I think Roar is like her next biggest song outside of that album. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that was like the next album. So, but I was excited to see these performances. I was like, oh, we're back. We got like the black hair back. Like maybe we're gonna go back to that sort of version. And I was like, I saw the mushrooms, and I was like, oh, that's trademark Katy Perry. Very whimsical, very over the top. It's gonna be a good time. And then like the first song, totally forgettable. But the second song, actually really liked, and I've heard it before. The album version of it is very like produced. It's like very poppy, but this stripped down version of it I found quite charming. I really enjoyed it, and I've always thought that she was at her best when she keeps it simple. Like something like Firework it's got a strong bass beat to it, right? But it's like the lyrics, and it's like very like, it's not overproduced. It doesn't have like a ton of layers in it. Like it's a pretty simple song, and it was like an instant classic. So I don't know. I've always liked a more simplified, like stripped down Katy Perry, and I'll always have a soft spot for her because of what Teenage Dream meant to me. But yeah, I think if she kept with that instinct, man, I'd eat it up. But your turn to talk now, Pat. Are you a Katy Perry fan?
I mean, like I like that album. I mean, everyone did when it came out. I'm not a huge Katy Perry fan. I definitely wouldn't listen. I don't think I've ever like owned her album or ever downloaded it independently. But she's fine. I don't actively hate Katy Perry.
It's more of a passive hatred.
Yeah, it's more of just like, ugh, her. Come on. No, but I mean, like I'm a musical theater kid, so I love theatrical stuff. When I saw that it had a set, I got so excited. I love when performers come on and they're like, we're just gonna do what we do on tour. We're not gonna just do the bare bones stuff. We're gonna build the set and everything. And I know it's more of a pain in the ass for all the poor people who work at SNL, but I really enjoyed the set. The songs, both songs for me, were completely forgettable. And if you played them right now, I would have no idea that was a song they played. But it was fun. I mean, it was fun. The dancing was fun. I love the costumes. It made me the goal of this performance. It made me want to see her live. To be honest, I want to see what her live show looks like. If this is kind of indicative of what she does on the road, man, that sounds like fun. You know, I wouldn't pay top dollar, but if someone was like, "Hey, I could get cheap tickets," I'd be like, "Yeah, I'll go see Katy Perry." If it's like that, yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, I saw the Teenage Dream tour twice, and it is very like there's a narrative to the show. Like it was very theatrical, very very fun to see. Hence, I saw it twice. Steve, what did you think of the performances?
First of all, I hope that the dancers have not signed any NDAs or anything, because I want to talk to at least one of them about how much they must have hated doing this gig. I mean, just the pants that they had to wear to make the little stems out of their bodies.
Oh yeah.
They made like the most well-trained, graceful people in the world probably probably look as stupid as as they have in a long time, because the waddling to get around in these things was it was embarrassing to watch.
Yeah, I know enough dancers to tell you that if you ask any of those dancers how embarrassing that was, they'll be like, "Oh, I've done so much worse. I have like at least I had my dignity. I got to wear a hat that covered my face. Like
right."
I was Snoopy on ice. They're so much worse than this.
But like just watching them get from like one point to the other, like whatever their cue was, the way they just waddled across, I'm like, I'm sure they would much rather look a different way while doing this, but this is what they have to do.
They're getting paid to be on TV and dance. You can put me in whatever you want. I'll still walk away going, "Hey, it was an opportunity." Yeah. You know.
I just want to thank Catherine, because I always felt that I never really was into Katy Perry that much, except for Teenage Dream. And I always thought maybe that was just like a moment I was listening to more pop in my life, but I guess it truly is the pinnacle of her career, sadly.
She's doing all right, though.
She's doing fine. She's
doing
she'll be okay.
Yeah.
All right. So mixed notes on Katy, but the set at the very least was fabulous. And she looked great. So yeah, let's talk about Update. For their lead-in, Jost and Shay discussed the Russia-Ukraine conflict and Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer. Steve, was this a strong Update outing?
It was pretty middle of the road. I was laughing and also recognizing a lot of familiar beats. This was very much, hey, let's go for the Mitch McConnell bad joke. Let's go for the Matt Gaetz pedophile joke. Ruth Bader Ginsburg old. You know, there was a lot of, I don't know, just I felt like they were reverse engineering a lot of very overtrodden roads and getting jokes out of them. So yeah, I just felt it wasn't the most inspired material, but there were some fun to be had. Some dolphin jokes, can't go wrong with that. Yeah, as usual, some of the more random stuff that's in the middle was definitely definitely the more enjoyable stuff.
Yeah, I feel that's the problem with Weekend Update now, is that they can be talk about like the Russian conflict and then Supreme Court Justice Breyer stepping down and stuff like that. But like I'm seeing tweets that are better takes, to be honest, because it's just people are doing it immediately and like I could see it faster than this. And I mean the only joke this week that really made me like out loud laugh was Jay had the joke about Seabiscuit dying. Let's pour one out for our homies, and it's pouring out glue. That made me laugh really hard. That's a good joke. But like other than that, like I thought it was kind of a weak.
Yes, yeah. So this had some laughs in it. Like I'm not tired of the McConnell jokes yet. Do we always know it's going to be there? Sure, but they've still managed to surprise me, so I'm still having fun with that. And I could tell that they were having fun last night. Like they kind of had a contagious energy to them, so like they had that going for them. But I would agree, not the strongest joke writing that we've seen, this season. All right, well, fair enough. Let's talk about our features. Up first in these new trend forecasters, and out Michael Che. And Pat, was this a win?
Big time. I love this. It is. I feel like this is solid ground for SNL. This is in the same vein of like Gunther from the 90s. It's that same vein of just like, here's a weird crazy guy. Like it's like a very Stefan kind of like, here's a weird crazy guy. This, and you know what? It works. It works. Mm-hmm. It made me laugh. Go to bed is a catchphrase. Okay. Yeah. It was heavy handed, but the fact that 80 and Bowen, every time they said it, it was almost like they were looking through the camera into your eyes going like, wink, we got you, bud. Like I was so on board with it. It was very funny. I do feel personally attacked as someone who uses movie posters as decor, but no, it was great. I loved that the whole bit. It's good. It's good ground that they built there. But yeah. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed this. Like immediately they roll out and I saw the costumes. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. These two are characters I want to watch more of, before they even said a word. And then, they have that dramatic turn, the lights change. That is fantastic. And like you said, it's great specifics and so many quotable lines. Go to bed. So funny. Grow up and be a damn painting. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
But I will say, Bowen and 80 performed the hell out of it. Like that's what truly made it. There was this one moment where 80 slapped the desk and then Bowen waited a beat and then he slapped the desk. And it was just chef's kiss. Amazing. All around. This was great writing, but performance was to die for. And Michael Che in cat eye glasses as the punchline, I'll take any day.
Holding a fidget spinner. I love it.
Fantastic. Yeah. Steve, what'd you think?
Yeah, my favorite piece of Weekend Update, perhaps the night. This has Bowen's crazy style all over it. And I see how well 80 fits into that after this sketch. And God, it's like this lucky man has chemistry with every single person that he shares the screen with. And God, it's infectious. And I love all of the stops that they pulled out to make this what it was, because they didn't stop at just two funny performers, but they brought in lighting and effects and really went for setting a mood with this. And for something that is so out there from left field, like this really helps sell it all. And if you're going to go experimental, you really need to have those cues to show your audience that, okay, we're doing something different here.
This pair, big win. Let's talk about our next feature, where Peyton Manning is here to discuss Emily in Paris. And interestingly, when I spoke to Pat earlier this week, he mentioned, he was like, yeah, the Peyton Manning episode has one of my favorite sketches in it. So I think
he's one of my favorite hosts of all time.
Yeah, like this you manifested this to happen on the episode you were reviewing.
My only note for the sketch. Yeah, my only note for the sketch is when he came out, I started fist pumping. I don't watch football. I don't like football. I love Peyton Manning. What a fun game. What a fun game for this. Out of nowhere, Maybe my favorite tagline of the night is "There's a season 1." Is my favorite tagline of the night. But yeah, no, this is a big one for me. Peyton Manning's funny. He's my dad's favorite comedian because him and his brother have a talk show on ESPN2 that my father is obsessed with. And they host Monday Night Football for ESPN2. And my
I heard
father's
all about this when I was home because my dad also really likes it.
Yeah, and like my dad just keeps like he'll just be like, "Hey, you hear what the Manning brothers say?" And I'm like, "No, not what the Manning brothers said." He's just like, and then I watched it with my dad. I watched when they were dropping the Moon Knight trailer during the Monday Night Football like 2 weeks ago. Honestly, those guys, like, I understand it. They Peyton Manning, the Manning brothers are so funny. But especially Peyton, he just understands timing. It's how can you be that good at one thing and then good at another thing? How dare you? Like vastly different things. It's not like he's a tap dancer who also could sing. He's a football player, one of the greatest football players of all time, and then also funny. He's so funny, you know. And this sketch is that, man. Just the that last line killed me. I don't know what else. What else in the sketch did you guys enjoy?
I thought this was delightful. Steve, do you agree with Pat?
Peyton Manning, he's a polymath. He's a Renaissance man. What can't he do? There's the types of monologues that you write for a non-comedian, non-actor, like musician or athlete. That's written in a way that like you don't have to really do a good job of it to be funny. You know, like a Charles Barkley type of monologue, for example. Like I can't see him doing this and getting any laughs because a lot of this actually relies on something resembling a performance. And we got that. We got a lot of little beats and a new take on feminism finally, and just turning to Jost in that moment. I felt like I was watching an athlete performer for the first time, like truly understand what he wants out of his performance and not just being like, well, here it goes. I'm going to say the words. And, there was really like a craft put into it.
Yeah.
And normally that goes over the head of people that come on the show from a non-performing background. They say, well, I know how to read and I know how to say things out loud. So yeah, I could get you a monologue, but I feel like he's like, well, let's just understand all the beats to this and plan it out. I felt like he actually approached this like a professional would.
Yeah, this was the thing I was left wondering was how did this come to be?
Yeah.
Like did some writer say, look, I have this really funny idea that like Peyton Manning would come to talk about Emily in Paris, and then they said, oh, no one really has a good Peyton Manning impression, let's see if he'll show up? Or was it like Peyton Manning said, hey, I'd really love to be on the show this week, can you write something for me? Like how I would just need to know how this happened, who called who,
because they usually have some sort of football something right before the Super Bowl. You know, that it's
That's true.
It's part of the thing, but to get Peyton Manning to do this was ingenious.
But it's also 2 weeks ahead of the Super Bowl. Like, but I guess they don't have another show. That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
We're not gonna have a show for a month. You know.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, no, it was. I really loved him doing the plays, but it's about Emily in Paris.
Yeah, that was great.
And
it was really creative how they managed to like intertwine the two things. Awesome. So big win on Peyton Manning. Unexpected, but delighted to see him. Let's talk about the back half of this show. Up first, a tale as old as time. Maurice just wants to masturbate. And Steve, what'd you think of this?
I think we're just taking all of the implication right out of this. Yes, we witnessed a man preparing himself for the ultimate act of self-satisfaction. I enjoyed this because this is what we always get in the world of Disney films and such. Is everybody's so pure and innocent that it's not even an issue if you decide to spy on someone without their consent, because nobody would do such terrible, horrible things like crazy old Maurice here is doing. But yeah, I mean, this is why this is why this stuff only exists in fairy tales, and like in the real world, just the idea of doing something like this would be horribly inappropriate.
Yeah,
because everybody, has their things they do when they're alone, and yeah, this is why we don't just go around looking into magic mirrors.
Pat, was it a win for you?
Yeah, it was a win. It was fun. It's a fun sketch. Honestly, it's a win because of Willem Dafoe. Willem Dafoe really was like the don't look at me when he's flipping down the pit. Don't look at me, and then that he holds for a second and looks at the picture of a horse and goes, "Look at me." That is so funny, and it's someone who like he put his all into it. That could have this sketch could have gone the other way if it wasn't for the fact that Willem Dafoe was really leaning into this. He was really having fun with it. I mean, more to that point is just the fact when the sketch starts and I saw that Pete Davidson was Beast, my immediate thought was like, oh, this is something that Beck Bennett would have done a year ago. But I guess they're giving it to Pete, but Pete's not gonna really commit. And then where the sketch went, I was like, oh, I'm glad Pete got this, because anyone else would have committed. It would not have been funny if it wasn't Pete just going, we shouldn't be doing this. We gotta cut it out. Let's that I agree with. And also, hey, honest, another win for SNL's set and costume design. The costumes in this were impressive. They could have easily done like a high school production, but this was at least regional theater. And
one up.
Yeah, just like honestly, like just it's so crazy that like you have a week and they put together as many good costumes as they did, you know? But again, I feel like this was 100% like Willem Dafoe having to like be at a 10 the entire time, and any other host this season I don't think would have done a good job.
Yeah, Willem Dafoe was what was really working here. You know, because he has that look to him. Because like this was good. I immediately knew where it was going. As soon as Maurice walked in and said, "Am I alone?" I was like, "Oh, okay, this is what we're getting here." And it's really hard to move on from that. Once the audience sees where that is and what they're alluding to, where do you go? Because he can't actually do that on TV, right? And nor would that be very funny if he did. So they wrote themselves into an uphill battle, but they found really creative ways to go and really good ways to use Willem with like you said, the pictures, spanking himself and just like talking like so aggressively to that picture at the end about the things he wanted her to do to him.
Also lighting the candle and saying, "This is the happiest I've ever been." Maybe
right.
That was such a funny line. And again, it's 1,000% his performance.
Yeah. So like if it weren't for him, you're absolutely right. This wouldn't have been as good. Because that's just a really hard thing to write, and he sold it. So yeah, Beauty and the Beast, a win. Let's talk about Please Don't Destroy, welcoming a new friend to the crew, 10-year-old Connor. Pat, did you like this PDD video?
When the title came up and said Please Don't Destroy video, I said yes. I love these guys. I love these guys. I got into them about a year ago during the quarantine when they started doing their like quick stuff for Twitter and stuff, and they're so funny. I don't know if this was on purpose. And actually, you know what? Knowing them and the fact that they're like my age, it probably 100% was. That the song they chose was Hero from the Spider-Man soundtrack, starring Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin.
Right.
And that pop when he's choking and the pop-up where the kid pops up behind, when Connor pops up behind him and just says that we're a hero, it is
right.
So cinematically genius. Like those guys, the Please Don't Destroy boys they're so good at this type of sketch. I mean, they probably have written other sketches this season I have loved. I didn't even realize they wrote it, but they're no one does it better than them when it comes to this quick kind of like, because it's a mile a minute, and it doesn't even heighten. It literally goes from it goes from a garage to a skyscraper in seconds. Like it's so fast how like it's you blink and you miss the change of the game. It's just like it's so It's so well done. And I don't even think this is one of their better ones. I think this is probably one of their lower sketches this season. But God, was it funny? It's so fun to see them. Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoy this too. It's such a random premise.
Yeah.
And they are so good at adding in little side jokes. Like all the nicknames they had for Connor were great. Like the C train downtown, like that's so unnecessary to the sketch, but so funny. And it just adds to that world, right? And then, like you said, that's exactly what I had written down, Pat. The music cue that hits as Connor's head appear, beautiful. Like that's how you know, like editing, writing, directing, acting was all on the same page, firing on all cylinders, because that moment hit perfectly. So yeah, I had a really good time with this. Steve, where'd you land?
I think they just got the right guys to do this job.
Yeah.
It seems like they were like, we're gonna have these moments in the show where we got like 2 or 3 minutes to just pad it out with something hilarious. And I've never seen so much comedy come out so lean in just like a fat-free package as these guys do, because I don't know what else you could carve out of this that's not just raw humor stacked on top of itself, cut after cut after cut. Like these guys don't even take a breath. They're just throwing something at you. And it's it's what the young viewers want, like this long form sketch. If that's losing anybody, if people are out, or I shouldn't say outgrowing it, it's kind of the opposite, out younging it. This is the kind of stuff that they're going to react to, because it's very breakneck pace. We're talking about like how SNL gets the TikTok thing. Well, that goes to show they understand that a younger audience likes a faster pace. And I think they got the right group of guys to fill that niche.
Yeah, another home run for Please Don't Destroy. Let's talk about the next one. Here to demonstrate his technique is the author of Blowing Yourself. Steve, was this a win?
Did you say that right? You sure you got that?
Yes, I did.
Check your teleprompter there. So this is a really fun sketch to write, I imagine. And I bet you this gets passed around the office like some kind of collection plate at church. This feels like the kind of sketch where you could just be like, "Hey man, we're trying to get all the blowjob innuendos or the self fellatio, double entendres we can shake a stick at." And yeah, it just sounds like a great time in the writer's room when a sketch like this gets passed around.
Yeah, I think this was super fun. We've seen this before with the incest twins, but I think this was an improvement on it. I think there was more innuendo. I think there was that great bit of physicality to get a nice active beat in there, and it had a really really solid button at the end with Bowen saying the wild whore. So I liked this one
Great
as well.
way to end it.
Pat, did you?
Honestly, I think Steve, you nailed it. My first thought watching the sketch was, this is a well-written sketch. Like this is hitting all the beats. Like my little sketch writer mind was just like, yep, it's heightening correctly. This is good. I agree. I feel like this was something that killed in the room. And I mean, it was funny and I enjoyed it, but like, I definitely like, this isn't a sketch from this show that I'm going to be like, I want to rewatch that, because that had some good moments. Not bad at all. Enjoyed it. Again, Willem Dafoe, strong performance. Him doing yoga, sucking his own dick and the fact that like he pushes down Mikey's head to get him all. That's so funny. That's such a funny little like moment. Like it was this sketch where I realized I'm like, Willem Dafoe is a good SNL host. He is a very good SNL host. Because he understands what the show needs and where to come in. But again, it's just like something didn't click for me, where I didn't walk away from the sketch going like, oh, that was great. I went like, oh, it's very well written.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
But
I'm actually really glad you said that, because I was just thinking we're getting almost to the bottom of the rundown, and I was like, because I know what rating I gave it in my notes. I know how I was going to rate the episode, but I don't know. I've been saying like I really love a lot of things, but you're right, Pat. A lot of it's like well written and it's good, but not all of it's like can't wait to rewatch it. Can't wait to send it to my friends. There's only a few things that I felt like that about.
Yeah.
So that is an interesting metric. I'm glad you mentioned that. And like part of that is just like the subjectiveness of comedy. It's like I appreciate how great this is. It's just not what I wanted. It's not my sense of humor. It's not the thing that I love the most. But I see what you did there, and I see that it was really. I see the technicality of what made this great. So yeah, a win technically, even if it's not maybe huge belly laughs for the night. Let's get into this 10-1 though. If you have to work through the night, you may as well improvise a song where you throw a chair out of the window every 8 bars. And Pat, what'd you think of this?
I love the sketch. This was great. Almost the exact opposite of the last sketch, where I'm like, oh, I see where we're going. I'm here for the ride. Well written. This sketch was, oh, I see where we're going. Oh, no, I don't. Never mind. I had no idea where this was going. This threw me for a loop. I did not see that happening. Honestly, this is a rare sketch on SNL. I thought could have been longer. This is, this is something where I was like, oh, this should have been, I would have enjoyed this for another few beats. But I understand end of the night. This is as much as I enjoyed it, I wish they saved this for a little, because this one is one where I don't think Willem Dafoe was needed. This could have been another host, but I really would have liked this to be written out a little bit more, because I want to see what else happens, because it's a very funny idea.
I agree wholeheartedly. That's pretty much what I wrote down. I mean, the first thing was the performances were what made this great. Like that bit of them just doing the song that lasted a long time was so great, because all of them were just fully selling it. But like you said, 9 times out of 10, my critique is I wish this was shorter, and I wanted more of this. I wanted a full another beat of this, because I 100%. Think it is so funny. And when they came back to like the next day, it started with everyone was like around Willem, including Keenan, the boss. And they said, "You got it this time." And it made me feel like, oh man, there was like a whole page or two in the middle of this where they like did another song, and he did something even crazier than throwing the chair out of the window, you know? And they're having to, and now everybody's on a team, and all they want is to teach him how to improvise a song the right way. And I just wanted to see that so bad. But then someone on Reddit posted that, and thank you to the person who did this, but they went to the dress rehearsal and they said that this wasn't significantly cut down from dress. There was no second beat to this that they cut out because they ran out of time.
Wow.
So I was like, oh.
Interesting.
But I really thought there was.
This is insane to me that you're saying this right now. Like, I have trouble believing you.
I mean, maybe they just misremembered or they didn't mention it, but I was like, oh, I just knew they cut out a whole second beat of this, and I wanted to see it so bad. But apparently not.
What are you saying to me? Oh my God.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So, Steve, I take it you wanted to see more as well.
Well, yeah, just to make it less awkward than it was, I feel like why did we go back to the next day just for that? Why did we like do the whole time transition for like what felt like half a beat, basically?
Yeah.
But
I mean, I did figure out when I rewatched it, the reason that lasted so long was because I had to put up the caution tape and stuff and clean up the papers. But why? I don't know. That is why that lasted long.
Yeah. Honestly, all you need to do is Heidi just needed to move a little to the left, you know?
Yeah.
Just move a little to the left, and then they could have the exact same beat without any time movement. But yeah, I agree, it's jarring. Sorry, Steve, go ahead.
Yeah. But I just want to ask Heidi never to do that to me again, because I've never cringed harder at a Zoobazooza or whatever the hell that was.
She was so great in this. I love
she was shit eating, like just the smug look on her face, like I'm a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant mob or something. Like it had that vibe. I don't know. It's just, it was weird, like you were saying, Catherine, that there was nothing cut out like this, because I felt like it was missing at least a setup saying, okay, so it's the next day, let's try this again. And it felt like they rushed right into it and they knocked Heidi out the window as quickly as possible, which doesn't seem like natural writing. If you're telling me with all the freedom in the world, this is what they chose to have it play out, that's hard to swallow. It's a big pill.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, like this was so enjoyable. Like that part was a little head scratching that there apparently isn't a second beat to this, but these performances were still to die for. Like at one point, my husband just giggled and went like, Heidi's so weird, and he just meant it in like the most like adoring way.
I absolutely loved Heidi in this sketch. I felt like all night she was killing it, but this sketch, I was just like, oh, what a fun, interesting way. It could have just been a very boring kind of like, hey, this, but the fact that she's with the hands, yeah, so great,
killed it. So yeah, a win on this one. So much of a win that we just wanted more of it, which is, at the end of the day, a great problem to have. But yeah, that is the end of the rundown. Let's talk about our overall thoughts and ratings. Up first is moment of the night. Patrick, what is your moment of the night?
Willem Dafoe's dancing in the Beauty and the Beast sketch. That was such a funny thing to see, and also the way he moves his body in that sketch. I watched that clip a few times. I think it's so great.
If only his pee-pee had been out.
If only his pee-pee had been out. Maybe I like it a little more.
I'm going to give my moment to the cut back to Michael Che with the fidget spinner and the cat eye glasses. That was just such a great moment. As they started to say the third canceled thing, I was like, oh my God, it's going to be Michael Che. And then it was, but then that little extra spice of him holding the other two things was just fantastic.
And it was fun later in Weekend Update where the joke doesn't land and he put the glasses back on with the Ruth Bader Ginsburg. That was fun.
That was great.
Steve, what's your moment?
I'm giving it to sports reporter Andrew Dismukes enabling more screen time for the blowing himself fiasco.
Yeah,
I think that's that was a great moment because I mean he played it so well with that little pat of the ball and the chuckle. Pretty much everybody at home was Andrew Dismukes in that moment. So I think that's a monumental moment of the night.
All right. So our next category is best sketch. Patrick, what's your best sketch?
I wonder if we all have the same one because mine is 100% Badminster Dog Show. That best. I mean, I've already watched it 3 times because it's just, again, devil's in the details. It's so funny.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Badminster's my best sketch too because so specific. That one and the 80 and Bowen were the two that I thought, yep, need to send this to somebody. Like I have someone who will really like this.
Yeah.
But Badminster, I got a dog. I'm an animal person. It just really, really hit home. I loved all those specifics. Steve, are you going to make it unanimous?
No, I'm going to give it to New Jetix.
All right.
That's a great one. That's a great one.
It was a great one. And I just thought this was the most creative, weird, out there one for sure. And I just love my cringe. And I love it when there is humor at one's expense.
Let's talk MVP. Who's it going to, Patrick?
Oh, I'm happy to say that the MVP this week is the host, Willem Dafoe. I feel like we said it with the Beauty and the Beast sketch. It would not have worked with anyone else. You needed someone with Willem Dafoe's level of commitment. Like I feel like he really there's been hosts even this season where I feel like they were pulling away from certain beats and certain sketches because you could see that they were like, oh, I don't know if this is going to be funny, so I'm not going to put 110% in. And Willem Dafoe, he gets all forced and spanks himself, and then later on he blows himself. Like it's just It's great. It's really great. Even he has quiet moments too. And I'll say that because in the Office sketch, the fact that he's just quietly in the background, then all of a sudden the chair goes out the window, and even then he's still like, "Oh, I was just I was just doing the thing you guys were doing," and it was just so muted. Where I'm like, "Oh God, this guy's the range he has is fantastic." So I'm giving it to Willem Dafoe, Willem the friend, as I would say.
Yeah, I think Willem's a solid pick for me. I was just looking at who I was trying to figure out like who stood out to me the most, and there wasn't anybody that just really dominated the show. So I'm gonna go a little different with it in that I think Heidi was in a whole lot of stuff and really owned everything she was in, especially the Office one.
Yes, 100%. Heidi was on my list. Heidi was my number 2 if I wasn't gonna go with Willem, but like I feel like yeah.
Yeah, I think Heidi and honorable mention to Keenan. He was all over the place too, but Keenan's also always all over the place. But I think Heidi sort of snuck in, like it was like, oh, that was good, that was good, and then we got to that last sketch and it was like, oh God, Heidi was great this episode. Steve, who's your MVP?
You know what? I'm just gonna give it to Peyton Manning because he had a great
That's
cameo. He killed his bit, and hey, man, maybe it wasn't something that would like be a successful audition and get you on the show, but if you're gonna be Peyton Manning and asked to come on and do a bit, and you do this well, like no one would ever expect this from an athlete. And here we got something that, I mean, you would laugh at this if it was just some regular schmo with this kind of delivery and this kind of timing. I feel like the celebrity of Peyton does elevate it, but if it wasn't being elevated by that, it still stands on its own by the quality of the performance.
Yeah.
And I just got to give it to him for that.
Yeah. Sometimes your MVP is just the person who makes the big play. Okay, here's the big one. On a scale of classic, great, decent, weak, or train wreck, Pat, how would you rate this episode?
I honestly think for me, it just squeaks into great. It was a close call, but I feel like the latter half of the episode, I thought we're all winners, honestly. Right after everything after Weekend Update is a big question of, is this going to be the weird fun stuff that you're going to remember, or is this going to be just some garbage that they just need to they're just throwing in there that just doesn't really work, but we need to run the timeout. And honestly, I felt like the last half of the show was all big winners on my part. So yeah, I'm going to say great. I thought this was great.
Yeah, I originally wrote decent, but I think I've talked myself into a great as we've discussed it because there was more delight than I originally felt. And like I was sort of saying when we were talking about the blowing yourself sketch, while maybe I was feeling personally down on a few things, I can appreciate that they were technically good and it just wasn't necessarily my thing. So and I think that makes it a great. So even if I'm looking and I'm like, meh, yeah, loved it, but like they were all technically good, I think that's a great episode that there's something to appreciate in every sketch. I think this had a lot going for it. So yeah, I'm gonna land on a great too. Steve, what do you think?
I don't know. I think I'm going to stick with decent for this one because, yeah, there was some really excellent things going on for when it comes to SNL and the quality that it can achieve. It hits some high notes for sure. But I feel like there were moments of awkwardness and maybe some recurring sketches that have not found its best form in this go around. And I don't know, just I mean, Katy Perry doesn't add particularly very much to this episode for me. But yeah, Willem Dafoe's performance definitely saves it. His commitment, Peyton's commitment. There's a lot of really nice stuff, but like, yeah, the tenants meeting and the office drum circle thing. I don't know. There was just some weird missteps that, ooh, I feel like you'd have to chop out a couple of these sketches to make something truly great. So that's gonna dilute it into a decent for me.
Yep.
That's fair. Maybe you've talked me back down to decent.
Do it.
I'm staying at great.
No, I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna stay at. I did slip into a great. I think because I think
Okay.
if I look at it from what did just Catherine think of it and laugh at, then it's a decent. But if I look at it trying to be like a more objectively, I think there was stuff to appreciate that just wasn't necessarily my sense of humor, but has a lot going for it. So I'm gonna stick with great.
I'm also holding it to the candle of like the rest of the season so far, where I feel like this season has had some, weak episodes.
All right, well, that's where we're gonna land. A decent-ish great episode.
Yeah.
We loved Willem. We loved a lot of things happening here. Peyton Manning was a big hit. Solid episode. Patrick, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. This was a blast.
You're a great guy.
This was so
Stop.
fun.
Yeah. Oh, you got a thing I love talking about? Oh yeah, I love talking about this. This is as I was telling Catherine a week ago when you asked me to do this, I'm like, oh, this is something I just do anyway with my friends. Like we're gonna end the podcast and then it's Sunday night, so we have our movie night and we're gonna talk about SNL for about a half hour, just
nice.
Well,
before we watch our film. So yeah,
more of the same.
Exactly. Yeah.
You have your thoughts fully formed now. And Patrick, where can people find you? What do you have going on?
Oh, well, I not Pat Riley everywhere on the interwebs. I put out YouTube videos at least 2 times a week. Right now it's just some old stuff I've done for an app called Rizzle, which I do a lot of my content for. Rizzle. You can find me on Rizzle.
Rizzle's great.
Yeah, I have a new series coming out on Rizzle in February, which is a sequel to my very popular series How to Get Viral, which is series 2 is called How to Get Viral. And the 2's in the title. I'm very
Right.
It's a Fast and Furious thing. Yeah, I'm very proud of it. But yeah, that's coming out Wednesday. It's gonna be the first episode, and I've been working on it for about 4 months now. And if you guys watch the first series of Let's Get Viral with Patrick J. Riley, it's very much a story arc and a complete story. This one is very much more I actually, because quarantine was lifted, I didn't have to be alone in a room. I actually get to go on some adventures, which was a lot of fun to film. So check that out.
So is it Rizzle exclusive?
Rizzle exclusive. It will only be on Rizzle for at least a year. So and then so check that out. Not Pat Riley. Yeah.
Very good. And your shirt. What shirt are you wearing here, Patrick?
Oh, that's right. This is my Painting with Patrick, my extremely popular painting series where I paint in my underwear, and I get comments from people who fetishize my body size, and so that's always fun. That's always fun. I thought I started it as a bit where it's like because I started doing this thing as in therapy called rage painting, where it's kind of like spin art. But I use my body to spin the art and get crazy with it. And I made a few videos for my friends, and we all thought it was funny. And then I put it out online, and it got a really good reception. And then Creeps found it. So now every video
so now
I have
it's
to
lucrative.
go through. Yeah. Now it's so lucrative. I sell these paintings for way too much money. But thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
Of course. Yeah, this was great. Loved having you. And stay tuned for me this week. I'm going to be putting out a new sketch called Mike's Mile High Sex Planes. It's a good one. I've been working on it for a while. I've been sitting on it for a minute. It's time for the world to see it. So that'll be out later this week. So check it out on all my socials, my YouTube, etc. Steve, you got any big plans for the hiatus?
Well, I'm just doing my thing. If anybody really cares, they can find some content that I've been producing for Labrador Morning. There are podcasts daily, every weekday. Check it out. Labrador Morning, it's called. It's on the CBC website. You might find a thing or two in there that I've been part of. But you won't laugh. You won't laugh like some of these things you're talking about. You might say, that's interesting, but you won't laugh. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
That's
maybe
why I
me and
come
Steve
over
can
here.
plan our virtual putt-putt showdown for the hiatus.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. Patrick,
Yeah, we'll
you'll have to
get
be
that
there.
done. All right. Well, this was fun. Thanks for being here. And that is a wrap. Thanks to Pat Riley and Steve Finn. And thanks as well to our most generous patrons, Sam Bowers, Neil Weinstein, Justin Gardner, Grace Kogan, and Brian Clark. If you're enjoying our show, please subscribe on YouTube or wherever better podcasts can be found. Your subscription helps us grow, and your support is greatly appreciated. We'll be back in 4 weeks when SNL returns with host John Mulaney and musical guest LCD Sound System. But until then, this has been episode number 153 of the Saturday Night Live Afterparty podcast. I'm Catherine Coleman. That's my story. I'm sticking with it.